Guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. As you would have seen by the title, today we are doing a physiotherapy Q&A, something different for the channel. If you didn't know, I am a physiotherapist by profession. Almost 2 years in the game, but I mean, who's counting? And so I thought, why not do a Q&A and ask people what they want to know about physiotherapists in case there are people who are interested. And I did put up a poll on my Instagram a very long time ago, so I'm gonna be answering those questions and some of the other questions I got on the internet that are frequently asked. I have all my questions on my laptop, so I will be looking down very often, so please do forgive me. And my window is this side, so I do get easily distracted. So if you see me looking out, it's just a distraction. But yeah, I hope you guys do enjoy this video, and please do not forget to give it a massive thumbs up. Leave your questions down below of what else you'd like to see me talk about that is physio related. And yeah, do enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. First question is, what is a physiotherapist, or what does physiotherapist do? Physiotherapists are movement professionals who use physical intervention to improve general health. So we help restore movement and function post injury, disability, or illness. And we use a very holistic approach into providing care and making sure that our treatments or intervention are patient specific. We also work together in an allied health space, or in an allied group, where we work together with other professions like doctors, occupational therapists, and speech therapists to make sure that we look at patients holistically as mentioned. Not only that, but we also advocate for health promotion and disease prevention. Next question is, how long do I have to study to become a physiotherapist? A physiotherapy is a 4-year long degree. To become a physiotherapist, you need to get your 4-year bachelor's degree. And basically it's divided into different sections. So in our first year, we do basic physio terminology, we do chemistry, physics, where we focus mostly on the biomechanics of the human body, and psychology. And then continuation into second year, where we focus mostly on different areas or different section of physio, like you have your neuro-related conditions, your neuromuscular, your NMS related conditions, your chest related conditions, geriatrics, and all of that. So from second year, everything is broken down, and we go into depth with each and every section of physiotherapy. And then in third year, that's when we start our clinical blocks, where we go out into hospital and actually treat patients. We get to apply our knowledge that we've learned throughout the years, but we still are learning. So in the morning, we'll go in and have our clinical blocks until 12. And then we have our lunch, and then we go back to campus, where we'll have lectures until the day is over. So that's how our third year is. And then fourth year, that's where we have full day of clinical blocks. This is where you go in hard, applying your knowledge, going into hospitals and clinics and seeing patients. And then only on Friday, that's where we will have a lecture on research methodologies and all of the other things that are related to research, because second year through to fourth year, we are also busy with our research project. So you need to learn how to actually conduct a research. That's what we do, and that's how it was broken down during my time. Guys, I'm not that old, but I like to think of myself as old. Anyways, let's go to the next question. Next question is, where in South Africa can I study to become a physiotherapist? So basically, you need to go to a university. You can't get it at Technicon or any other place. So the places that I know of, I'm gonna read off my screen because I'm not gonna memorize. So you can get it either from your degree, you can get it from UCT, the University of the Free State, University of KZN, SMU, University of Pretoria, Stellenbosch, University of the Western Cape, and Wits. So those are the places in South Africa where you can go and study to become a physiotherapist. Next question is, what subjects do I need to do in high school if I want to further my studies to become a physiotherapist? So basically you need your science studies, you need your physical science, your life sciences, and your mathematics are important. English as well is one of the requirements, but I think your sciences and maths are the most important. However, I know at most university you can have life science or physics. You don't need to have both, but if you have both, then that's great. But if you have physics and not life science, you can still apply. And if you have life science and not physical sciences, you can still apply. So yeah, just check what you have, where you are at, and then decide from there. Also, you need to complete a national benchmark test, which you can complete at the nearest university in your area. So it's basically maths and English tests. So they just want to test your skills, I guess. I don't know really, but if you really want to look further into the national benchmark test, then you can just search on the internet and it will tell you why they actually need it. But I know for a lot of places you need a national benchmark test in order for you to be accepted into a physio degree. Next question is, what are the different fields of work for a physiotherapist? So there is a wide variety of fields that you can work in as a physiotherapist. However, if you want to niche it down, you can, but in most areas, especially if you're working in a hospital, you get to see a wide variety of conditions. So you get to work with a lot of patients in different fields or with different conditions when it comes to physiotherapists. But if you want to niche it down, you can either become an orthopedic physiotherapist, a neurorehabilitation physiotherapist. You can focus on women health, or some people also go further and just focus solely on pelvic conditions. You can also be a geriatric, where you work with elderly patients, especially patients with dementia, patients in old age homes and all of that. Or you could be a pediatrics, focusing mainly on kids, or cardiopulmonary physiotherapist or cardiorespiratory. You can also be a sports physiotherapist and pain physiotherapist, which is a huge part of health and a huge part of our patients' conditions and problems. So yeah, those are the few areas of physiotherapist or physiotherapy that you can specialize in. Next question is, how did you find clinicals and how did you cope? So I mean, clinicals are different for everyone, and I feel like for me the biggest challenge was just a personality issue. I am a very shy person, and when you work with patients or when you work in the health sector, you get to interact and talk with a lot of people, which I had to put myself out there and push myself out of my comfort zone. But I think the most challenging part is just recalling and knowing your information, because some of the things you did in second year, some of the things you did in first year, and you haven't applied. So you have to go back and get those knowledge and get that memory back so that you can apply it on real life people and real life conditions. So I think for me, how I coped or how I made it through clinicals is just trying to revise as much as I possibly could, making sure I'm on top of my game. It wasn't always the case, but if you can, you try your best, and just asking friends to help you out. For me personally, I felt like having a system of people who are there to help you through that time is important, and most likely one of your friends or one of your classmates, they've been through a certain block that you're currently going through. So it's always helpful to gauge from someone who's been through that experience. How was it? What was the main focus? Like the kind of condition that you got. What do you think is important for me to like focus on vice versa, you also give your friend tips also and tricks, because you might have also been through a certain clinical rotation that they're currently going through. So it's an exchange of knowledge in a way and helping people out. I mean, at the end of the day, we all need to graduate and we all need to become physiotherapists. So there's no use trying to gatekeep information for yourself. And also, I think having a good relationship, working relationship with your clinical partner is very important, because you're going to be spending a few weeks together on the same rotation at the same hospital, probably even have to eat lunch together. So having a good working relationship is very important to get each other through hard times together, because sometimes clinical supervisors can be very difficult, and it's very important to have someone or it's very helpful to have someone you can talk to who understands your struggle, who's currently going through the same struggles. So I think that's how I coped through my clinical blocks, making sure I'm on top of my game, revising as much as I possibly can, and having a good relationship with my clinical partner. Also, I forgot to mention asking questions. It's important to admit to yourself, firstly, if you don't understand something. There's no use trying to wing it, because these are real patients, these are real life people, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to be treated by someone who's not experienced or who is uncertain about their knowledge. So it's important that if you don't understand something, ask your clinical partner, ask your clinical supervisors, so that you're sure about what you're going to do with your patient, so that you help your patient to be better, because there's no use trying to wing it, because clearly if you try to wing it, what if you do something wrong and you make the patient worse? So admitting to yourself that you don't know something is not a weakness, it's actually an opportunity for you to learn and to become better in terms of that skill that you're lacking. And honestly, there's always room for growth. You never actually know everything. You still, after however many years you've worked with patients, there's still a lot to learn. Science is changing, things are changing. So I think it's very good to be open to admitting that you don't know something, and just learn about it and research and make yourself aware and improve that area that you are lacking. Next question is, what does a typical workday look like for a physiotherapist? I think I speak for myself and many other physiotherapists. Typical workday doesn't really exist, because you get to see a lot of different conditions, you get to see similar conditions on different patients, and it's really patient dependent. Everyone is different, everyone presents different, and everyone responds differently, whether to symptoms, to pain, to the treatment that you are given. So I think a day-to-day or daily life typical day is non-existent, especially for me. I work between 5 different places, but on most days it's just 3, but there are 5 different places where we get patients. So it's really dependent. It's either an old age home, a frail care home, acute care hospital, subacute hospital, or an OPD where we see like long-term chronic patients. So it's really dependent on how my schedule is on that certain day, and that determines how my day will go. Next question is varsity life and how was my experience. I mean, varsity at the end of the day is what you make it, and I feel like for me I was a bit stuck up, to be honest, and I didn't fully experience varsity the way, like, in retrospect I'm like, there's so much more I could have done. And I think when I went into varsity, I went with the idea of, I need to get this degree, and then when you get there and then there's all this work, and then you start to be sucked into the work, and that's the only thing you know and the only thing you're focusing on, because you're just like, oh my god, I have so much work, I can't go out with this person because I have to finish this project, I have to do this and that and that. I feel like balance is really important, and I feel like that's something I was really bad at. I got to make a lot of good memories with my friends. We got to do a lot of things together and build this great friendship that we have, that has also continued post varsity, but I feel like there are certain things that I would have wanted to do, like continue playing hockey because I was a hockey player in high school. But when I got to varsity, I was like, I don't have time to go to practice, I don't have time to do this and that, and I ended up not doing that. So I feel like if you go into varsity, make sure you have your priorities straight, but have a way in which you'll manage your time to make time for new experiences, especially if you're moving from your hometown going to a different city. Make time to go see the place. You know, I lived in Cape Town for 4 years, but if I tell you I only know a certain part of Cape Town that was closer to, like, close proximity to where I studied, because girl never used to do things. But anyways, make time to go make new experiences, meet new people, go out. I remember first year, I feel like that was the peak of me going out. After that, everything was like boring. But go out as much as possible, meet people, and just be flexible. Do things that you never thought you would do, you know, and put yourself out there. I think I've grown so much, and I've appreciated experiences that are outside of my comfort zone. So this is a personal advice to myself. Just put yourself out there, I think. Yeah. Question is the hardest part about being a physiotherapist. I think, like mentioned earlier on, personality. That is the hardest part for me. Interacting with a lot of different people each and every day. That can get a bit overwhelming and tiring, and just it gets too much. And at the end of the day, all I want to do is be in my own space with no one to talk to, just me and my own thoughts. And I think in the long run that takes a toll, because now you isolating yourself so much, you're not interacting with people because it has become this too much, too overwhelming thing to do. So I think for me that's the hardest part. But besides personally or beyond just me, it's just working with patients with autoimmune diseases, especially being in your neuro rehab space. You see a lot of people who come in with a lot of autoimmune diseases, which sometimes and most times are irreversible, and they are just gonna get worse. They're progressively gonna be even worse than where the patient is. And you find patients with such conditions, but they have the will and they want to get better, but knowing that type of the condition that they're presenting with does not allow that kind of progress in terms of healing and getting better, it's quite hard to deal with. Because sometimes when you get to a certain stage with your patients, it's mostly about improving quality of life in the current state that their condition is in before it gets worse. So it's really hard sometimes to feel so helpless because you can't really do much for your patients. So that can really take a toll, and it makes everything a bit more challenging and harder to deal with, especially with neuro rehab conditions and patients, because sometimes you see them over a long period of time. So it's just sometimes it gets like, oh my god, it gets draining as well. And yeah, I think that's the hardest part for me. Next question is, how much does a physiotherapist make? First of all, physio, do not come into physio for money, because there's not much of it, to be honest. What I can say is you will not get financial freedom from being a physiotherapist. From my personal experience, maybe there are people who have actually gotten to a point where they are financially free from being a physiotherapist, but in most cases you either work hard to make money to be comfortable, or you work just normal hours and you just make the basic amount and just live a life. But financial freedom, which is something I'm going for, I'm aiming for in my life, I do not see it being possible at the current stage. And just to comment on how much you make, as a community service physiotherapist, you will make anywhere from 20,000 Rand upwards, and your salary is very dependent on where you are working. So if you're working in a rural area, you'll get more. I think they compensate you for being so rural in the outskirts, because you have to go to a specific closed town to get you like your basic necessity, compared to if you're living in a city, shops are close by, everything is so close, in close proximity, you get less. So anywhere from 20k upwards, depending on where you're working, that will determine your salary. And then the next question is, life after varsity, what can you do? After you complete your 4-year degree, you have to do a community service, which is where you work for a government sector for 1 year, and then after that you get to choose where you want to work. You can either go to the private sector or continue with the government sector. However, after your community service, you have to apply for a job on your own. So it's not like after you complete 1 year at a specific facility, they absorb you. Some places will absorb you, but most times you will have to apply to get a job after you complete your 1 year community service. You can also go back to university and further your studies, get your master's, specialize in a certain area of physiotherapy, or just live. That's that. But with all honesty, you can do your community service. After that, apply to work in private or public sector, like in a nutshell. And the last question is, would I recommend physiotherapy to anyone? I mean, if you really are passionate about working with people and helping people, then definitely physio is the right profession for you. You get to build a network of patients and people who really are close to you. You get to build a relationship with people you work with, not only your colleagues but also your patients as well. You become really close with them. So it's really fulfilling in a sense of, when you help someone and you help someone become better, that is fulfilling, that is rewarding, because you feel good. As much as there are days also where you feel very terrible because there's not much you can do, but there are good days more than there are bad days. If money is an issue for you, then please do not consider physio, because one thing I will tell you is you will be miserable if you want money and you're really not passionate about people, because it can get to you and it can get too much. But overall, physio is a very great profession. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's looking to work in the healthcare sector. And not only in the healthcare, because like I mentioned earlier on, there is a wide range of things you can do as a physiotherapist. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching these videos. Please do not forget to leave your comments down below of any other things that you would like to see on the channel, and yeah, see you guys in my next video.